My second term is Communicatio Idiomatum, which is Latin for the communication of attributes or properties. It upholds the unity of Christ in being fully human and fully divine in one person, while maintaining the distinction of them as two separate natures. It says that whatever is true about Christ's humanity is also true about Christ the person, and whatever is true about his divinity is also true about Christ the person, without mixing these things. An example is the statement, Jesus suffers. This means that Jesus, the person of the Godhead, suffers, and Jesus as the God-man suffers, not just his humanity. So in the first century, Ignatius of Antioch affirmed this essentially by saying he was against Docetism, which was an overemphasis of the divine, and said that Jesus only appears to be human. He affirms the two distinct natures in saying that Jesus is truly human and truly suffered, and affirms both the humanity and the divinity by saying the blood of God and the suffering of God. He understands this. Tertullian in the second century said that Jesus is one person at once God and man, essentially one person, two distinct natures. He uses substance and person in understanding the Trinity and divine natures of Jesus to say they are united but distinct. Now, there are two schools of thought, the Alexandrian school and the Antiochian thought. So we have Alexandrian. Within that school, Clement said that God is beyond the category of substance. He said that Christ was human, but this union of the divine and the human is such that some of the fundamental characteristics of humanity are lost. Now, this is problematic. In the logos flesh distinction within Alexandrian, we say that the attributes of humanity are predicated in the Word. It emphasized the unity and the divinity of Christ. Now, Cyril got it right. He said that the divinity and humanity are united in hypostatic union. In the other school of thought, Antiochian thought, we use the term logos human because they emphasize the distinction and the humanity to protect the divine suffering. Now, Nestorius went too far and fell into Nestorianism by diminishing the unity, which is also problematic. But because Communicatio Idiomatum focused on distinction, we'll jump ahead to the Council of 431, which affirmed the union of Christ. Then after that, there were doctrines like Eutychianism, which reflected Clement's thought and said that there's one nature after the union. Essentially, the divinity consumes the humanity, and there's not two distinct natures, there's just one nature. Same with monophysitism. They said that there's one single nature after the human and the divine were united. The Council of Chalcedon in 451 rejected this and affirms Communicatio Idiomatum, saying that there's diaphysitism. Christ is one person, the God-man, with two distinct natures and has both properties simultaneously. Now, in the 16th century, there was debate over this issue with the Reformed and Lutheran, and it came out in the Eucharist. The Reformed said that the divine nature and the human nature are divine strictly in the person of Christ. This is seen in the view of the Eucharist in pneumatic presence, which said that Christ is truly present but not substantially joined with the elements because he reigns bodily from heaven. In the Lutheran thought, however, they said the human nature takes on the divine nature, and the human nature becomes majestic, suffused with the divine nature, seen in the real presence, the view of the Eucharist, otherwise known as sacramental union. So this issue of Communicatio Idiomatum has now been debated for millennium.